Hello, everybody. Justin Thomas James here. Make sure that I am actually coming through the right microphone. There we go. Justin Thomas James here, everybody. Hope you are having a fantastic day. I'm going to be jumping into I Am Legion. This is the cold read for I Am Legion and part 3. We are starting on chapter 4 today. And it's been pretty slow going as I've been getting to know the story, the characters, commentary with James, who was here last week. Last week for the 2 sessions we did on Thursday and Friday. Today, it's just going to be me. So we will be moving pretty quickly through this stuff, but very happy to be back. Hello, everybody who is here. If you are here, please say hello in the chat. And just say hello. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. All right, so we are starting on chapter 4. Let me do a screen share here. There we go. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. I'll just check the YouTube quickly and make sure. All right, sounding good. Hello, Henry. Hello, Kimberly. Good to see you guys. Now, for whatever reason, my chat is not coming through. Oh, there we go. All is fine. Good. I am glad. Oh, wow, there's everything. All is fine. Morning, I can hear you. Dagon Cal, I think it is. I think that's an L. Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining. All right, let's jump right in. Chapter 4. After a couple minutes had passed. No, this isn't quite it. Birch began shouting. And now I'm going to be listening to a little sample from SWAT, Shamar Mohr. Today. All right. Chapter 4. After a couple minutes had passed, I crawled out of my hiding place and climbed down the tree. My stomach was rumbling as I looked around and smelled around. My senses of sight, smell, and hearing were inhumanly sharp. I could distinguish the differing stenches of each hell pig and commit them to memory. Sniffing along the ground. I could distinguish the differing stenches of each hell pig and commit them to memory. Sniffing along the ground, I could also filter out the individual spores of their mounts and their disturbingly tasty smell of the dead hyperborean. Sniffing along the ground, I could also filter out the individual spores of their mounts and the disturbingly tasty smell of the dead hyperbore. The body was gone, but they'd left the boar's loot bag lying on the ground. Curious, I went over and gave it a nudge with my snout, and jumped when a holographic inventory list displayed Hyperbore. 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 2 times cloudberries. Hyperbore. 2 cloudberries. 4 brown mushroom. Simple linen wraps. Simple linen wraps. Bezoar. Poor hyperbore hide. Good pig brain. I tried to pull the items out with the typical. I tried to pull the items out with typical VR game gestures, but nothing happened. Jeez. Okay. Jeez. Okay. take items, rip inventory, Jeez, okay. Take items, rip inventory, transfer items. Items transferred. Check your inventory for individual item descriptions. Sure enough, the bag vanished, and the bits of junk appeared in my own HUD. Better yet, I got some XP. Well, 1 XP. I needed 3 more points. I needed 3 more points to reach level 2. The hell pigs. The weather's finally turning cooler. Anyone having got toddies? Hot toddies to keep them warm. I'm having hot water, actually. I'm drinking, well, warm water. I'm trying to avoid cool water today because that's not in line with the weather, I guess. It's cold outside, so gotta stay warm. To reach level 2. The Hell Pigs. The Hell Pigs Trail. The Hell Pigs Trail was easy enough to follow. The Hell Pigs Trail was easy enough to follow. Once I located it by scent, a red haze drifted up from the ground and highlighted their footprints, showing where they'd gone. I held off following it for the time being. Clive and his punks were a much higher level than me, and there were a lot of them. If I was caught and collared by that hillbilly motherfucker and If I was caught and collared by that hillbilly motherfucker, then I wouldn't be able to save myself, my family, or my sister's gym teacher. Even worse, if the game's system compelled me to obey any gladiator who put a collar on. Even worse, if the game's system compelled me to obey any gladiator who put a collar on me, they would. Even worse, if the game's system compelled me to obey any gladiator who put a collar on me, they would possibly even force me to attack and kill innocent people. Which raised the question. If I was a gladiator and not just a legion, did I have these? Which raised a question. If I was a gladiator and not just a legion, did I have these command collars? I surfed over to my inventory and opened it. Frowned. Sure enough, I had 2 collars, one for a greater legion and one for a lesser legion. I thought about asking Chorus, but the obvious answer to my question, why the fuck am I here like this, was that something had gone wrong during my upload to this shit pit. I could guess I'd been sent here as some kind of favor to Dmitri, whoever he was, but they'd send me to the wrong place in the game. This was Mala, not Arcadia. Even so, because I was a legion and not a human gladiator, that theoretically meant any asshole could clap one of these collars on me and turn me into their pet killing. That theoretically meant any asshole and gladiator. Even so, because I was a legion and not a human gladiator, that theoretically meant any asshole could clap one of these collars on me and turn me into their pet killing machine. Unless I extracted the Greater Legion command collar from its slot and the item appeared in my foreclaws. It was a welded circle of black metal with a hinge at the back. It was a welded circle of black metal with a hinge at the back and a locking clasp in the front. The metal was etched with runes that rippled and pulsing light. It also looked to be the perfect size for my own neck. Before I could second-guess my intuition, I reached up, laid the collar around my throat, and snapped the lock shut. All right. In an act that is most certainly not symbolic, you have obtained a greater legion. In an act that is most certainly not symbolic, you have obtained... Oh, I gotta remember how chorus sounds. All legions are cunning and dangerous. Simple linen wraps. Bezoar. Poor... In an act that is most certainly not symbolic, you have obtained a greater legion. Reaper Nemesis, level 1. You may access your legion's, your own prime ability and ability trees. Do you wish to give yourself a name? Sure. I scrambled for a sufficiently majestic name. I scrambled for a sufficiently majestic name. I scrambled for a sufficiently majestic name. Something that would fully embody the extent of my rarity. Noodles. Noodles? Of all the asinine... never mind. Noodles. Of all the asinine... never mind. Please confirm your chosen name. No. Wait. I struck a pose. His, Sublime Radiance, MT Noodles the Fourth, PhD. And you're sure about this? Did I stutter? You cannot change your name once you confirm it. You actually... Okay. You know what? This is above my pay grade. Confirm Legion name. His Sublime Radiance MT Noodles the Fourth, PhD. Sublime Radiance MT Noodles the Fourth, Sublime Radiance MT Noodles the Fourth, PhD. Yes or no? Sublime Radiance MT Noodles the Fourth, PhD. Yes or no? Hell yes. Hell yes. And hell yes. Hell yes. Hell yes. And thus a legend was born. 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 Satisfied, I closed my HUD, took a deep breath, and thought about what to do next. It was a blessing I didn't really remember anything about my sister or my dead dog, or how much I might or might not have loved them and hated Dmitri. It was a blessing I didn't really remember anything about my sister or my dead dog, or how much I might or might not have loved them and hated Dmitri. All that had been scoured from my memory, along with my real name and a bunch of other details. Maybe at some point the emotions would come roaring back and sock me in the gut. Right now, it was all someone else's story. That was just as well, because Noodles had one job, That was just as well, because Noodles had one job and one job only. To figure out what this purgatory actually was, and how to survive it. There was no point in going over my abilities yet. I had no idea how the system worked, and was still level 1. What I really needed was experience. Enough experience to give me ability points to work with. My eyes narrowed as I did some quick mental math and determined I'd probably need between 400 and 500 total XP to reach level 10, the bare minimum level I could probably take on the Hell Pigs and win. Once I sank my teeth into PvP, I was pretty sure I'd level up faster, but being incarnated here as a legion presented itself. Once I sank Once I sank my teeth into PvP, I was pretty sure I'd level up faster, but being incarnated here as a legion presented itself with an immediate Once I sank my teeth into PvP, I was pretty sure I'd level up faster, but being incarnated here as a legion presented itself with an But being incarnated here as a legion presented itself with an immediate problem. In most survival games I'd ever played, you gained early levels by picking up sticks and rocks to craft primitive armor and weapons, which you then used to hunt the innocent but delicious creatures of the forest. But I didn't have a crafting menu. Experimentally, I grasped at a large fallen stick with my foreclaws. Show crafting options. Show crafting options. Nothing. Nothing. Nada. I tried breaking the stick up into kindling. I put it into my inventory, which informed me that I now had 8 times. I put it into my inventory, which informed me that I now had 8 short sticks and no XP. After that, I tried thinking of something I knew how to make. A toggle, like the kind you used to set off small traps. Then I actually tried making it, and ended up with 9 short sticks. Hey, Chorus, is there a crafting system I can access? I looked toward the sky.
Let me see. No, crafting is only available to human gladiators.
My eyes narrowed. Wait, hold on a goddamn second. Hold on a goddamn second. Why don't I have a crafting menu?
I assume that in their divine wisdom, the creators of Purgatory do not wish to create a Reaper that can manufacture tentacle-compatible machine guns. You are a legendary ranked apex predator. Perhaps you should try killing something?
My tail lashed. Perhaps you should go shove all 4 of my tentacles right... Perhaps you should go shove all 4 of my tentacles right up your ass?
Your proposal is intriguing, but I do not possess an anus and have no way to approximate one.
Come on, man. You're the god in the machine here, right? Make yourself any damn butthole you want. Oh, come on, man. You're the god in the machine here, right? Make yourself any goddamn butthole you want.
I most certainly am not a god, and this is a highly inappropriate subject to discuss with your referee. I just want you
to achieve your ultimate potential, Chorus. This is me officially encouraging you to craft the anus of your dreams. Hell, have a different anus for every day of the week. Sea slug, ravine trapdoor spider, baboon. Get one like a Chinese swallowtail butterfly. Then you can see out of it, too. Chorus didn't reply, and its presence withdrew. Maybe it was butthurt over not having the ability to watch itself shit like the rare and lovely Chinese swallowtail. Maybe it was butthurt over not having the ability to watch itself shit like the rare and lovely Chinese swallowtail. Licking my fangs, I considered what to try next. Hunting was probably the best option, but gathering had given me 1 XP point, right? I had 4 legs, a set of jaws full of shredding teeth, and 4 vascular, energetic punch puds. In short, I was a multi-limbed harvesting machine. I bounded over to one of the glowing berry bushes and ripped it out of the ground. Berries went everywhere. I opened my mouth and caught a few, and sure enough, I got a couple of XP points. The berries restored a tiny sliver of my The berries restored a tiny sliver of my nourishment meter. Satisfied, I flung the bush away and began tearing up everything in sight. Saplings were crushed in the coils of my tentacles. Berries splattered between my fangs. Herbs released their volatile oils as I mushed them in with my claws. Herbs released their volatile oils. Herbs released their volatile oils as I mushed them in my claws. Small mammals squealed in terror as I drove their women and children before them.
You gain 10 XP. You are level 2. You have gained 1 ability point.
Success. Mad with power, I put my nose to the ground, padding forward into what remained of the surrounding ferns. It didn't take long to catch a scent that smelled suspiciously like chicken. Oh man, please be chicken. The smell made my skin vibrate. A double row of spines down my back stiffened as I focused in on the trail, and something in my mind and body shifted. My steps got quieter, and I instinctively lifted my claws so that I rested on the thick pads of my feet. My steps got quieter, and I instinctively lifted my claws so that I rested on the thick pads on my feet and didn't make so much noise. I began to stalk a narrower, slower track, lowering myself to the ground. The foliage whispered over my hard skin, barely making a sound. The tentacle squad settled down, flattening down and partly retracting out of the way. And then I heard it. A huge, exotic-looking pheasant stuck its head out of a small hollow, head darting back and forward. I froze like a hunting lion, staring straight ahead. The bird strutted out into the open, holding its glorious blue tail feathers high. It sauntered over to a big mound, adjusted a few twigs and leaves, then hopped up onto it. It craned its wattled neck and let out a piercing "Wow, wow." See if I can dehumanize this a bit. No. Wow! 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 Sound, almost like a police car siren. Male Argus pheasant, I thought to myself. Then a small mental pause. How the hell did I know that? And how the hell did I know about the butterfly eyes butt thing anyway? And how the hell did I know about the butterfly eyes butt thing anyway? And how the hell did I know about the butterfly eyes butt thing anyway? I have a fucking phobia of insects. I wasn't just able to identify the bird. I knew things about its behavior I never remembered learning. Those wow, wow calls it was making. Those were mating calls. And if I hedged my bets right... There was a rustling from my left. After a couple of seconds, a dull brown pheasant hen poked her beak into the clearing. The male bird hopped down, nearly tripping over himself in excitement, and I realized that the small space covered in leaves was actually the stage for his mating dance. Sure enough, he flared his tail. It was like a David Attenborough documentary. Our planet Earth. Oh, come here. Testing, testing. Stupid. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Headphones, work. Work, please. Work, please. Work, work, work. Working, working. There we go. Nope, nope. I gotta get new headphones. These are... Ugh. Hello. You guys ever get that where your headphone jack, you have to like turn it to the proper angle? Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. No, this is for me. I'm one of my headphones stopped working. Ugh. 1 second. I have another pair right here. All right, testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Can I hear myself now? Oh, maybe it's this cable. Testing. There we go. Now I can hear myself very nicely. Sure enough, Sure enough, he flared his tail feathers and began to scoot around the female as she pecked. Sure enough. Sure enough. Oh. I was wondering. I was like, why did the volume get so much louder?
Sorry.
It's all good. Thank you.
Bring you a tea.
Thank you. Thank you. Ah. I get a tea. Set of Bose headphones? So no, actually. So Bose headphones are fantastic. I love them as well. So when I'm working in the booth, I try to use oh God, what are they called? Transparent headphones. And the reason for that is what I mean by transparent is that there are some headphones that will enhance the sound. So like Bose speakers, Beats, they have a sound profile that will enhance the sound to make music sound better. So they'll usually beef up the bass and that sort of thing, is my understanding. I really don't know a whole lot about it, honestly. I'm not an expert, but though I should be. You'd think I would be. But so with work like this, I want transparent. I don't want to feel like I've got extra bass, because then that kind of changes what my settings are going to be, especially if I'm doing something like mastering. But if I think I'm really delivering like with a lot of bass, for instance, in a character voice, and the headphones are providing that, but I listen back and it sounds flat. It sounds like I'm not giving as much bass. I want that instant feedback, right? So anyways, that's just my rant on that. Let's keep going back. Let's go back to this David Attenborough-esque situation. For his mating dance. Stage for his mating dance. Sure enough, he flared his tail feathers and began to scoot around the female as she pecked at the fallen leaves. And then both of them squawked as my upper tentacles... Sure enough, he flared his tail feathers and began to scoot around the female as she pecked at the fallen leaves. And then both of them squawked as my upper tentacles lashed forward like harpoons and nailed both of them into the ground. I pulled back to find the tip of each tenta had ejected 10-inch-long obsidian spikes into the unfortunate birds. So much for my fantasy of ravishing 5 women at once. So much for my fantasy of So much for my fantasy of ravishing. So much for my fantasy of ravishing 5 women at once.
You have discovered Argus pheasant. You can now identify this creature with keen senses. You have new items: pheasant plume times 5, fowl carcass, poor condition times 2. You have gained 20 XP. You are now level 3. You gain 1 ability point.
The pheasants twitched. The pheasants twitched as I bought one. Ah! What is the hourly rate when it comes to reading a book? Well, that really depends. A lot of narrators work. Excuse me. A lot of narrators work under a per finished hour agreement, which is you get paid not by the hour, but per finished hour of audiobook. So if your audiobook is 10 hours long, you get paid for 10 hours, right? Even if it takes you 10 hours to finish 1 hour, you get paid for the finished hours. So how does that translate? Most narrators work at a rate of 2 to 1. 1 hour of finished audio for every 2 hours of recording time. Some narrators are faster, some are slower. Definitely when I was starting out, I was like 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. Like I was very slow because I made a lot of mistakes. And I still make a lot of mistakes, but not as many. And now I've got proofers to go over that with Soundbooth and find all my mistakes for me. And then there is, yeah, so then there are rates that are, there's royalties as well. So depending on, you get paid $0 for royalties, but it can work out to be better for, depending on how sales of the audiobook do, right? So then you've got like a vested interest in marketing and all that stuff. So I actually get paid $0 per finished hour because I do all of my projects royalty share. Yeah, and the reason for that I just kind of mentioned is that I've got I care more about a project, I find, if I know that it's directly tied to my income. So there are some projects that I really don't make that money back, and that's just part of it. And then there's some projects that I get paid much more. I end up earning much more than I would have if I had done a per finished hour book. Yes, royalty share, indeed. Indeed. And that's why there are so many books out there that sound like someone was half asleep while reading. Quite possibly. Yeah. Well, this is the other thing too, is that like I have a vested interest, to take on books that I'm actually interested in, to work with authors that I actually, I like their storytelling, or I have fun when I'm reading it. If you were to get me to read like romance, I don't really care that much about romance personally, or history books. I just find it really dry. So like if you got me to narrate that, like sure, like you could pay me, a bunch of money, per finished hour to read it, and that'd be great. It'd, be money in my pocket, but it'd be really hard for me to care. And that comes through in the audio. And I like to care. It makes my job, like I'm spending so much time in this booth by myself. I want to actually feel connected to the story. Another thing is, one of the great benefits of working with Sound Booth Theater is that I've got opportunities to just express my creativity through this form of storytelling. And I don't just mean, the fun character voices that we do, but getting to compose music, getting to learn the process of, sound design and, how to enhance scenes with a little bit of music, with a little bit of, sound effects, voice effects. Like, how do we make the story pop and come to life and feel colorful? When I'm doing per finished hour, it doesn't really translate well to me, like, because I'm already in this mindset of I'm getting paid to do this, and this. If I like throw in, composing music, which takes a long time, I'm not getting paid for that unless I kind of negotiate that, which most people who are paying per finished hour, that's not what they really want to focus on. They want more of a classic read, which is cool. That's fine. yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question. Kimberly says, gotta say, you have a killer voice for romance. Oh, well, thank you, Kimberly. I have done a little bit. And maybe one day I'll get into romantasy, which is, I do like romantasy as a genre. I think it's the just regular romance. But, you know, at the end of the day, if it's a good story, it's a good story. And you can have great romance stories. I just haven't read any. But I've seen movies. I've seen good romance movies. Hey, you know what? Like, and thank you, Dagon Kyle. I appreciate that comment. Honestly, Jeff has been a huge influence on how I think about this stuff. He kind of had that moment early on when, you know, forming Sound Booth Theater, where he kind of realized where a lot of the narrators at that time were, you know, saying like, hey, do per finished hour, don't risk royalty share, all that stuff. He kind of zagged, which he always has. He's always been kind of like, well, actually, this makes more sense. So I'm going to do it this way, even though the entire herd is going that direction. So he's just like, no, it makes more sense. If I do royalty share for everything, then I'm not capped. I, in theory, can end up making more money. And he lucked out with Lit RPG. But it wasn't just about the money. It was also there's this incentive. There's this incentive about keeping it. You can be Edward Cullen. I don't even know how he sounds. He kind of sounds like this. I don't know. He's so indistinguishable of a character for me, Edward Cullen. Like, he's just like, when I try to think of him, it's like TV static. There's just no personality there. Just so you know, you've ruined me. You're so good. Anytime they swap you out, I drop a book, and thank you. You're great. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I love working with Sound Booth and love working with all the actors, and it's like, I can imagine that, like, having a Sound Booth Theater production where you've got, you know, Jeff, you know, as a voice on some characters, and then you've got, you know, a couple other narrators. You've got the duet style narration that, you know, a lot of the actors are talking back and forth with one another. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be hard to go to a regular narrator. And don't get me wrong, there are fantastic, you know, classic narrations where it's just one narrator. But if you go from, you know, me, Jeff, and like 5 female actors, which has happened in the past, to one male narrator on a harem, you know, book, there's going to be an adjustment there. There's going to be an adjustment. I can imagine it would be jarring for the listener, even if that narrator is extremely talented. Anyways, let's keep going. The pheasants twitched as I The pheasants twitched. The pheasants twitched as I brought one, then the other into my mouth. The smell made my mouth water even as my human mind screeched in protest. Humans didn't generally want to stuff raw, unplucked birds into their faces, but reapers sure as hell did. The first chomp told me that yes, I really was a carnivore now, because it was the most delicious thing I'd eaten in my life. Sweet, tender, perfect. The whole pheasant went down the hatch, followed by his plump would-be girlfriend. There was no chewing. Like a crocodile, my jaws couldn't move from side to side, so I just had to snap and tear them up into pieces and swallow them. Like a chainsaw, but for meat. Only then did I notice that the scent of the hell pigs was starting to fade. I turned my bloody muzzle back to the wind and sniffed deeply. No more time to fuck around. I had to get as much XP as fast as possible. So I charged after the raiders and looted, destroyed, and ate everything. In my path.
You have discovered a new herb, krachai.
Krachai. Krachai. Computer, stop freezing. I have a HDD, a hard drive, like a classic spinning hard drive, and it is old and slowing down my computer, and I need to swap it out because it keeps on making me freeze, which is annoying. Annoying. Krachai. Chai.
You gain 10 XP. You are level 4. You gain 1 ability point. You discovered Cinnamon. You discovered Anaconda. You gain 14 XP. You gain 10 XP. You gain 5 XP. Your Legion's Prime ability has been unlocked. Soul Drain. You discovered a new herb, Galangal. You gain 1 ability point. You gain 1 ability point.
Young trees, bushes, berries, herbs, small animals, they went into my inventory, or they went into my inventory, or into my stomach. Young trees, bushes, berries, herbs, small animals, they went into my inventory, or into my stomach as the notifications began flying too fast to follow. The more I harvested, the more in control of my body I felt. The problem with the tentacles was that I'd been trying to use them like human arms, but the drive didn't come from the shoulders. But the drive didn't come from my shoulders. It came from the muscles in my back and along my ribs. It felt kind of like flexing your abs and your biceps at the same time. When I stopped trying to rotate the tentacles the same way a human would rotate their arms, they stopped windmilling around. What got me hooked, Henry says, what got me hooked to multi-narrator books was Ender's Game with the fantastic Stefan Rudnicki. So happy to find Jeff and SBT doing the same. I haven't listened to Ender's Game, but that's cool that they did that with the production. Have you gotten to the point where you can look at the audio waves and have a rough idea of where certain words are when you quickly jump back and record? That's a good question. Yes, I have gotten to that point, Gabriel. So, like if like this sentence here, I was working and, I think you should be able to hear it. Yes, you can. So this section here, when I stopped trying to rotate the tentacles the same way a human would rotate their arms, they stopped windmilling around. So I can see here that there's a gap, and then the sentence that I messed up was, they stopped windmilling around. So I was able to see, okay, I just narrated that, and I can just, click the cursor right in front of that little clip, and then that is, yeah. So I have gotten familiar with what the waveforms should sound like. Sometimes I get it wrong, but for the most part, I'm pretty quick about it now. It's been like 7 years of doing this. So their arms, they stopped windmilling around. Yeah. Good question. Windmilling around. The XP gain started to slow down dramatically at level 5. The XP gain started to slow down dramatically. The XP gain started to slow down dramatically at level 5, but I Godzilla'd my way through the jungle until I hit level 7 and maxed out my carry weight. When pulling plants stopped giving me even single XP, I ground to a halt and started thinking about my ability. The ability points burning a hole in my pocket. Chorus's auto-notifications had mentioned something about unlocking my... Chorus's auto-notifications had mentioned something about unlocking my prime ability, whatever that was. I was pretty sure I could stand to assign some points and see if they helped me on my mission to find and rescue Sam. I brought up my sheet for the first time in a while and did a double take when I saw my stats.
MT Noodles IV, PhD. MT Noodles the Fourth, PhD. Reaper, Nemesis, Level 7. Prime Element, Body. Mundane Elements, Psionic, Poison. Class, Legendary. Vitality, 3700 out of 3700 HP. Carry weight, 202 kilograms. Strength, 515. Speed, 758. Stamina, 551 out of 605. Damage, A. Defense, C-. Instincts, S. Prime ability, Soul Drain. Temporarily harvest 1 selected ability and 5 stat points from other legions on a successful tentacle attack. Reaper abilities, none. You have 7 unspent ability points. You have 7 unspent ability points.
Huh. Hira. I'd evolved into the Nemesis tree, but that wasn't really what drew my attention. My stats had basically tripled since level 1, and I could feel it. I really did feel stronger, faster, keener. I wasn't punching myself in the face with my own tentacles anymore. And now, I had some points to work with. Chorus, can you teach me how to get the best? Chorus, can you teach me how to get the best out of my abilities? I asked into the ether. I promise I won't talk about butts anymore.
Swear on it.
I sighed. No buts. Pinky promise.
Well, abilities are relatively straightforward, darling.
Nope. There we go.
Well, abilities are relatively straightforward, darling. Greater legions have 2 ability trees with 2 branches per tree. Open your abilities menu. Open your abilities menu to continue the tutorial.
I did so. The triangular sigil from before was featured prominently. The triangular sigil from before was featured prominently. The triangular sigil from before was featured prominently. The triangular sigil from before was featured prominently at the top of them. Prominently. The triangular sigil from before was featured prominently at the top of the menu. Beneath it were the 2 ability trees, now with the bottommost spheres lit up. The one on the left was titled Predator. The one on the right was titled Nightshade.
Elements and elemental type. Elements and elemental type matching. Elements and elemental type matching is a key feature of combat in Survival of the Fittest. All legions are comprised of 3 elements, 1 prime element and 2 subordinate mundane elements. The prime element rules your basic physiology as well as your base type strength and type weaknesses.
The first symbol on my triangle diagram glowed with red light, the circle with the 3 dots over it.
Your prime element is the body type. This means you have a bestial form suited for physical combat. As a body type greater legion, you are stronger when paired against mind type legions and weakest against incorporeal mind type legions and weakest against As a body type greater legion, you are strongest when paired against mind type legions and weakest against incorporeal or amorphous spirit type legions. The body type is strong against the holy, plant, air, and blood elements, dealing double base damage against these types with their normal physical attacks. It is weak against the poison, fire, earth, and metal types, dealing half damage to these elements with their elementals with their claws and teeth, and taking double damage from their attacks.
Okay. I put my nose to the ground, making sure I could still smell the hell pig's trail. Elements. Got it. The next symbol, the next symbol, the next symbol on the triangle lit up with, the next symbol on the triangle lit up with brilliant silver light, the one that looked like the planetary sign for Mercury, with a squiggle to one side.
Your secondary type is psionic, gifting you with powerful psychic attacks. Psionic element. Your secondary type is psionic, gifting you with powerful psychic attacks. Psionic elemental abilities. Psionic elemental abilities are strong against blood-type legions and human gladiators, but weak against metal. This also makes you more vulnerable to firearms.
The next and final symbol lit up. Yeah, this is really annoying, actually. I've got to jump back and forth. There we go. The next and final symbol lit up. The next and final symbol lit up with a deep, malevolent purple glow.
Your tertiary element is poison. As a poison-type legion, your As a poison-type legion, your envenomated attacks are strong against air elementals and weak against dark elementals.
Body, psionic, poison. I'd seen those on my sheet already. Now that I knew about the type matching thing, I understood just fine. Are the elements dynamic? Do they compound or cancel each other out? Like, I'm supposed to be weak to poison as a body legion, but poison is one of my elements. How does that work?
Yes, elements compound and interact dynamically. Concentrate on your sigil and you'll bring up a table which shows your strengths and weaknesses.
I did. And sure enough, a table appeared.
Prime element, mundane elements. Prime element, mundane elements. Body, psionic. Poison. Strong against blood times 3.5, air times 3.5, holy plant times 1.5. Weak against metal times 3.5, dark times 2, fire, earth times 1.5. Immune to psionic, poison.
Well, what do you know? I turned my attention to the two ability trees. There were 25 spears on each. There were 25 spears on each tree. There were 25 spheres on each tree, 5 up the middle and 10 on either side of the central column. The lowest sphere on each tree was lit up, and when I hovered over either of them, I got the same. And when I hovered over either of them, I got the same description.
Soul Drain. The Reaper Nemesis is named for its ability to harvest... The Reaper Nemesis is named for its ability to harvest other legions for their powers, stats, and life force. When you activate Soul Drain during a damage-dealing tentacle attack, time will briefly slow, allowing you to view and pick one ability from the other legion that you add to your Reaper's ability roster for the duration of the battle. The ability must be within the level range accessible by your Reaper. For example, a level 9 Reaper with access to only Tier 1 abilities may not select the Tier 2 ability of an enemy. They must be level 10 or above to select Tier 2 powers. After the ability is selected, time will resume a normal tempo. Your Reaper will also drain and absorb 50 stat points from a randomly selected stat, visible or hidden from their victim. The victim loses those points from that stat until the battle is concluded. As the Reaper Nemesis levels, this ability increases. As the Reaper Nemesis levels, this ability increases in power at levels 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and 115. The ability and stat drain last for the duration of the battle. Soul drain may be used once per enemy. 30-minute cooldown.
Above this key ability were 4 softly glowing spheres, 2 on the Predator tree and 2 on the Nightshade tree. As I looked over them, Chorus spoke again.
Your ability trees offer 4 different focuses: attack and defense/evasion on the Predator tree, and elemental, psionic, and poison attacks on the Nightshade tree. Choose wisely. You will not be able to change your chosen abilities while you remain in the jungle. To respec abilities, you must ascend to the 3rd realm. Predator. Predator, Tier 1. Murder Mittens, plus 3% permanent increase to melee damage and max speed. Dense Scales, plus 3% con and max health. Nightshade, Tier 1. Psychostimulant. The user concentrates and psionically boosts its attack by 20% for 60 seconds. Can only be used once per battle. Toad Skin. Cover your body in a thick coating of greasy venom. Increases grapple evasion by 20% and poisons susceptible enemies on oral contact.
Each ability cost 4 points to acquire, and I had 7 to spend. But the hidden Tier 2 abilities also cost 4 points each. By the time I was level 10, I'd have 10 AP and would be able to choose from more abilities, and potentially acquire 2 stronger ones than the 4 currently on offer. Yeah, I'll hold on to those. I frowned at the next section of the ability sheet. There was another ability tree grayed out and a blank triangle with no symbols. The triangle pointed down instead of up. What's this?
That is your Lesser Legion ability array. You have not collared a Lesser Legion, so the menu is inaccessible.
Lesser Legions only get 1 ability tree?
You got it. Lesser Legions have predetermined ability advancement path, gaining tiered abilities at the relevant levels. Every Lesser Legion has a semi-randomized array of possible abilities for their Legion type, meaning no 2 Lesser Legions of the same species are ever truly the same. Many trainers collar and discard multiple Lesser Legions in an attempt to find the best match for their optimized Greater Legion.
The casual way Chorus talked about discarding a legion turned my stomach. I turned my head in the direction of the hell pigs and breathed in deeply through all of my many nostrils. What my nose told me was both good and bad. The trail was getting cold, but I had to be within a couple miles of Pig Central. The odors of campfires, unwashed bodies, metal, blood, and human suffering blew on the coal. The odors of campfires, unwashed bodies, metal, blood, and human suffering blew on the coal. Human suffering. The odors of campfires, unwashed bodies, metal, blood, and human suffering blew on the cool evening wind from the northeast. Hey, Chorus, while I got your ear for a moment, don't suppose you can tell me something? I had this crazy message in my inbox that was opened before I even woke up. Can you bring up a profile on the sender? Dmitry Solinov. There was a pregnant pause. Chorus's difficulty in digging up information was starting to weird me out. Even the dumbest AI ran. Chorus's difficulty in digging up information was starting to weird me out. Even the dumbest AI still ran on quantum. Even the dumbest AI still ran on a quantum platform that calculated information millions of times faster. Even the dumbest AI still ran a Even the dumbest AI still ran on a quantum platform that calculated information millions of times faster than any human brain. They never paused to think or to get their words. I couldn't remember much, but I remembered that.
The answer is unavailable. Gladiators may not view the profiles of other gladiators. I suggest you do not make this query again.
I rumbled softly under my breath. Why was my message opened, Chorus? Who sent me here? Who was fucking around in my inbox? There was no answer. Chorus had withdrawn. Interesting, but not helpful. I would have to get my own answers, and to do that, I had to believe that I, MT Noodles the Fourth, was a big enough badass to take on a bunch of Mad Max rejects and their legions at level 7 and win. And legions at level 7 was a big enough badass to take on a bunch of Mad Max rejects and their legions at level 7 and win. All right, the end of the chapter. End 4. Let's get another one going. Let's see, at 100. All right, by the way, was talking about the 2001 audiobook. Oh, 3 book on all the 2013 full cast audio play. Don't know the latter one, but I guess that's more like an immersion tunnel. Oh, yeah. I imagine it is too. Yes, 1 chapter down. Just check on teams here. Let me just check something real quick here, guys. Bear with me. Gotta check a script for an actor. Word count. All right. Off topic, but do you have a book coming out? Something about Crystal? Yeah, Magical Girl Crystal Genocide is going to be releasing in November. Yeah, we've been sitting on that one for a while. We tried some extra production stuff for it, and now it's done, but the kind of market is cold for it at the moment. So we're waiting for the right time to release it. We're going to release it on our platform first, and then at some point it's going to move over to Audible when book 2 comes out in the series. Yeah, no, you didn't miss it. It is really, really cool. It's a fun project. We worked with a bunch of different voice actors on it, actually. Some guest appearances in the very first chapter, but they will have, as the series goes on, those characters will have more and more of a presence, which is really exciting. So, yeah, all right. Let's see if we can get one more chapter done in this here cold read. And how long was that chapter? That was 25. So, yeah, like, let's see. I did about 25 minutes of narrated audio in, or I guess 26 minutes of finished audio in an hour. Less than an hour, I'd say. So that's about 2 to 1. I am a bit faster normally, but when I'm streaming, I slow down because it takes time to, get all the stream stuff set up, and also I'm taking breaks and keeping things casual and talking to y'all. So it's a little slower than my usual pace, but there are other perks, of course, like having an audience. Waiting for the time when the credits take 20 minutes to read out. Oh, yeah. That's, well, the audio immersion tunnels are kind of like that already. We got a lot of actors on those. All right, let's keep on going. Chapter 5. The Hell Pigs were as subtle. The Hell Pigs were as subtle as their name implied. The party crashed through the jungle like a carnival, plunging into forest that got thicker and wilder as it sloped down into marshland. I lost their scent in the brackish water, but Clive's raiders left a trail of dead dinosaurs and legions on their way home. I followed the blood. Their need to kill slowed them down enough that I caught up. Crouched among mangroves, I watched the band approach a ruined city. Ziggurats. I'll just double-check the pronunciation of that. Ziggurat. Ziggurats, hewn from enormous blocks of black stone half sunk into the earth, loomed over the dripping, humid. Ziggurats, hewn from enormous blocks of black stone half sunk into the earth, loomed over the dripping, humid jungle. The towering front gate leaned almost 40 degrees to one side in the mud, carved with stylized images of howling, wild-eyed apes. They wrung drops of blood from human hearts into their gaping mouths. From beyond, I smelled human and animal sweat. Old food, and wood smoke. The stench of human misery. Suddenly, the rolling boom of drums started up all around me. I just about shit myself. Oh.
You have discovered the City of the Apes.
This place has theme music? This place has theme music. That ain't good. I clamped my whole body against the ground and hissed, only belatedly realizing that no one else could hear the drums. I clamped my whole body against the ground and hissed, only belatedly realizing that no one else could hear the drums. Or me. The crooked bamboo gate was manned by a team of 4 guards. Beyond them sprawled the filthy camp I'd scented on the wind. The Hell Pigs had set up a big courtyard that probably contained about 60 or 70 people. The perimeter was surrounded by freestanding wooden spike walls. There were tiki torches planted at intervals to brighten the place up. It didn't do a damn thing to disguise the fact that the camp was made of little shit-shack buildings, shanty huts cobbled together out of wood planks and thatch, teepees made out of poorly tanned hides, lean-tos, and bedrolls. As I studied the view from cover, I couldn't help but note that many of the people working in the camp wore rags and heavy wooden collars. The trail from Clive's squad ended at the gate, but I had a pretty good idea of where to look. The ruined temple complex that stretched out behind the encampment. Torches lit a straight path from the camp into an ominous... Torches lit a strange... Torches lit a straight path from the camp into an ominous black stone complex further back. Cattails. Cattails slithered over my skin as I followed the outer wall of the complex, not daring to enter the light cast by the fires in the camp. Only once I was sure that I was concealed did I slink. Only once I was sure that I was concealed did I slink out of cover and look up. Each one of the massive hewn stones was thick with moss, the seams between them glowing bright green under the moonlight. I backed up, wiggled my butt, and sprinted forward into a bounding leap. Claws and tentacles found the cracks between the stones, punching in and pushing me up. I scrabbled with my back feet until my feet found purchase and then jumped off, leaping up a second time. The jump was clumsy, and I landed half on, half over the wall on my belly. Kicking and struggling, I used all 8 limbs to haul myself onto the edge, only to see one of the guards in front of the main building shade their eyes and peer in my direction. I learned I had 2 hearts, because both of them hammered as I dropped down low, clamped the Pud squad to my back, and narrowed my glowing eyes to thin slits. "Wait! Something there? Wait! 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 Something there? Wait! What? 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 Something there? What? Something there? What? Something there?" The distant buzz of their voices carried to my ears. "Maybe." Maybe? The hell-pig craned his neck. What? Something there? Maybe? The hell-pig craned his head, squinting in my direction. The hell-pig craned his head, squinting in my direction. Can't see anything, but I swear I heard something. Can't see anything, but I swear I heard something there. I can't see anything, but I swear I heard something. He was maybe 50 feet away. How the fuck could he miss me? I was a 20-foot-long dragon shark thing. But then I remembered. Most animals had senses that were hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands keener than a human's. It was no different here than in the jungle. Just because I could see and smell these guys didn't mean they could see or smell me. Don't worry about it. Maybe. Don't worry about it. Worry about what we're gonna do after Razor's dead, the guard's companion said sourly. Razor? You think Venara's gonna niner him? If Venara doesn't kill him, Clive will. Did you see the gear they were packing? He's not there to fight the boss. Fuck, man, keep it down. Fuck, man, keep it down, the first guard hissed. Don't say that too loud. I'll say it and I'll stand by it. Razor cleared one lousy outpost and now he thinks he's hot shit. Go check the odds on your channel. The bookies know what we don't. There was a pause as the second guy looked over. There was a pause as the second guy looked over his menus. There was a pause. There was a pause as the second guy looked over his menus. The odds on my channel. The odds? The odds on my channel say they're both gonna die tonight. The odds on my channel. The odds on my channel say they're both. The odds on my channel say they are both gonna die tonight. Shit, really? Another pause. Fuck. Fuck, they updated. Dude, we need a plan to get out of here before the Centurion spooks notice. If Clive and Razor both die, no one else here has a brute. The Centurions will crush us. I'm just about to hit level 9. I don't want to die in this shithole. Should we message the main camp? Each overheard. Should we message the main camp? Each overheard detail added to the overall picture growing in my mind. The Hellpigs had a rival guild, the Centurions. Clive and Razor were ambitious middle management guys vying for a better position in the former, and the competition threatened to leave a power vacuum. There was a main camp that was not this place, which implied that the Hellpigs had more members than what I saw here. This was an outpost. This was an outpost. I could deduce there was a war for territory in full swing in the jungle. But was it a hot war or a cold stalemate? I relaxed as the door bitches continued their nervous chatter and studied the building they guarded. It looked like a temple or a church. The place was basically a cross with a big chamber in the middle, a rotunda capped by a domed roof. The roof was supported mostly by pillars all the way around, leaving an open space at the top. Judging by the sounds coming out of there, whoops and shrieks, screams of agony, I had a feeling that might be where I'd find Sam. The spaces between the pillars looked big enough for me to squeeze through. There was also a way up. 2 big arches that at once linked the main temple to the outer walls. Carefully, quietly, I took the slow first step out onto the arch, then trotted and bounded across the temple roof. The gap was about 20 feet up. I jumped up easily, anchoring myself to minimize sound, and crawled inside. The first thing that hit me was the metallic, sweet odor of human blood. Lots and lots of blood, the blood of many different people, all mixed together into one big sensory overload. I circled around until I could get a good view of the altar and rumbled softly. Oh, jeez. There were clearly 2 sub-factions of Hellpigs here. Razor's Reavers were all dressed in black and red, though their gear wasn't much better than the mishmash of trashy armor Clive and his men wore. Most of the Reavers were gathered around the giant altar at the back of the room. It was styled in the shape of a gaping gorilla's mouth, with the tongue forming the table where they were busy brutalizing someone. Male, female, it was hard to say. I couldn't exactly see what was going on. By the garbled screeching on the spreading pool, by the garbled screeching and the spreading pool of blood on the floor, I got the gist. There were 2 crude wagon cages to my right. One of them contained a little old woman dressed in dirty rags. She had her face buried against her knees. A mop of ragged white hair hung over her face and arms, obscuring everything but her size. The cage next to her contained a huge stag. The cage next to her contained a huge stag. It was a graceful, sad-looking thing with a brilliant... It was a graceful, sad-looking thing with a brilliant copper hide that flexed with shimmering embers. Its crest of antlers burst from its skull like twin trees, the tips scraping the insides of the cage. They were made of orange crystal. They were made of orange crystal. As I gazed at it, a little magnifying glass sprung up in my HUD, along with a rapidly filling meter. You identified a new legion, Runtina. The Runtina wore a collar. It didn't look like mine. This one was wider and spiked, and when I focused on it, it came up as a suppression collar. The item was flagged in orange text, not the usual white. It was a dark, evil-looking thing, flaring whenever Runtina struggled against its magic. Staring at it earned me a tooltip. Suppression collar, used to control a greater legion without binding it to a specific master. Unlike control collars, suppression collars may be removed by people other than the trainer without destroying the legion. Wait, if someone who isn't me somehow gets my collar off, I'm dead? Well, fuck. The suppression collar didn't look like much fun. The Runtina's muscles spasmed like they were being shocked, and every time his legs twitched, one or both of the guards watching over the cages looked back with visible anxiety. They did not want this guy getting loose. Number 9! 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 The Reavers took up a chant, drowning out the piteous screams of their victim as a wood and obsidian sword rose and fell above the heads of the crowd. Within seconds, a cheer went up, and the hooting gang of men parted to reveal the body of their sacrifice. It was Birch, the guy Clive had tied up. Clive and his warband were standing at the far side of the rotunda, watching with stony expressions. The pigs closest to the altar were covered in gore. "We're almost there, piglets! All we need is one more, and we're off to Bosstown!" "We're almost there, piglets! We're almost there, piglets! All we need is one more, and we're off to Bosstown! We're almost there, piglets! All we need is one more, and we're off to Bosstown!" I think that'll work for Razor. There we go. Bosstown! A tall, thin man with a black mohawk and the crazed, dark eyes of a junkie thrust Birch's severed head into the air with one hand, the other white-knuckled around the makwahital. Hello, Just Cause. Welcome. Pronounce makwahital. Makwahital. The other white-knuckled around the The other. A tall, thin man with a black mohawk and the crazed. A tall, thin man with a black mohawk and the crazed, dark eyes of a junkie thrust Birch's severed head into the air with one hand, the other white-knuckled around the makwahital he'd used to butcher him. He was addressing an unseen camera, hamming it up for his audience.
And then, Razor's Reavers will face Venara for the first time, with Clive's Hyena Boys waiting in the wings to back 'em up.
My stomach turned as laughter went up among the gang. My stomach turned as laughter went up among the gang. They were all staring off into space, watching their stream chats. Only the altar guards were paying any kind of attention to the room. The ones near the monster cages weren't watching their own backs. The ones near the monster cages weren't watching their own backs, trusting in the wall behind them.
Thanks everyone, and thank you Lorenzo666 for your donation of a bronze tribute. Now, it's time for our grand finale. Let's clear some space for the lovely lady, boys.
Razor dropped the head of his victim and threw his bloody arms into the air. Razor dropped the head of his victim and threw his bloody arms in the air. Razor dropped the head of his victim and threw his bloody arms in the air.
Chop, chop!
Razor dropped the head of...
Chop, chop! Chop, chop!
I had to do a little crazy scream. Two pigs went down the line and opened the cage with the woman inside. She flew up as the door swung out, but it was no contest. They grabbed her by the arms and wrenched them behind her back, revealing her face. I sucked in a deep breath. By her size and hair color, I'd mistaken her for an old lady. She was a lady, but she wasn't old. She was albino, small and slim, her ice blue eyes blazing with silent fury. Both her hair and skin were both a pale, pure white that flooded with scarlet as she began to struggle, lashing her head from side to side. Hell no. Hell no. Fuck a whole lot of this. Hell no. Fuck a whole lot of this. A soft rumble curled deep in my chest. I suppressed it and flexed my claws into the stone ahead.
Well, look at this exotic little flower.
The ringleader, Razor. The ringleader, Razor, I was guessing, purred. He leaned into her as the guards dragged her, struggling to the altar.
Sorry about dicing up your girlfriend before, sweet Tate. But it's so nice to meet you! Come on! Did I really lose viewers from one lousy pun? Sorry about dicing up your girlfriend before, dicing up your girlfriend before, sweet Tate. But it's so nice to meet you! really lose viewers from one lousy pun?
The girl didn't seem to hear him, thrashing soundlessly in the hands of her captives. Her hands were bound in front of her, but she was making the same repetitive gesture over and over again, chopping the blade of her right hand into the palm of her left, fast and desperate. She was deaf. She was deaf. She was deaf, speaking sign language, a language I recognized like a native tongue.
Stop! 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 Stop!
The temple scene withdrew into a buzzing haze as a memory. The temple scene withdrew. The temple scene withdrew into a buzzing haze. The temple scene withdrew into a buzzing haze as a memory. The temple scene withdrew into a buzzing haze as a memory swallowed me, as vivid as a hallucination. A woman, faceless, lunging toward me as I struggled with another man. I shouted in rage, banging his face down on a counter over and over again. The air was pungent with old alcohol and cigarettes and blood. She made a strangled, frightened sound, chopping her hand down into the other until I thought she'd bruise her own palms.
Stop it! No! Stop! That's enough!
All right, we got to do some direction here. This is Angel. See notes in script. Sam. See notes in script. She pulled me away. She pulled me away from the man by my shirt, screaming at me with her hands as she slumped to the ground. She pulled me away from the man by my shirt, screaming at me with her hands as she slumped to the ground. She pulled me away from the man by my shirt, screaming at me with her hands as he slumped to the ground. I couldn't see her face. It was like a television show, blanked out. But I knew who she was. She was the woman I'd die for. She was the woman I needed to help. The woman who talked with her hands. My sister. Sam. A hot pain shot through my head, jerking me back to the present. Ah, stupid squeaky. A hot pain shot through my head, jerking me back to the present. The hell pigs had pressed the albino girl onto the altar where she snarled and struggled, bucking against the circle of hands holding her down. Restrained from all sides, she couldn't sign as they bound her down. Her voiced scream was wordless, drowned out by the hooting and laughter of the men that surrounded her. Adrenaline coursed through my body.
Take a good look, all of you! Take a good look, all of you!
Razor yelled over the rest of the pack.
Isn't she a beauty? I'm thinking it's almost a waste to sacrifice her to summon a boss as low tier as Venara. Anyone who sends us, let's see, how about a silver or higher tribute? Yeah! Anyone who sends us a silver or higher tribute will spare the life of our little Snow White here.
Adrenaline thumped. Adrenaline thrummed through my chest as I slipped down to the top floor of the auditorium, barely making a sound. A grunt sounded from the darkness ahead. And I froze. As my eyes adjusted, I spotted the man who'd made the noise, a lone hell pig who'd been set up. A lone hell pig who had been set up as a spotter behind the cages. His cruddy hide armor and crude wooden spear told me he was a junior member of the gang. He was busy taking a piss. I padded forward, low to the ground. When I moved slowly, claws held off the floor. My steps were as silent as a panther's. It was disturbingly natural to assume the right posture, the right speed, and the right angle to kill. The target was oblivious, still draining the python when I lunged in, caught his head in my jaws, and crushed down. My fangs went through bone and flesh with almost no effort at all. He didn't even have time to cry out. The body spun from the neck, which snapped with a muffled crunch, and then sagged in my jaws, twitching and hot. The second I realized that, I dropped him and backed away, breathing hard through all 6 vents in my muzzle. My mouth was full of a sweet, metallic taste. A taste my predator's body yearned for, even as I scrambled back and gagged as quietly as possible.
Stealth gladiator kill. You gained 50 XP.
Fuck. Motherfucker, I really was a goddamn killing machine.
What? Not a single tribute? Gah, not even a measly little crumb for our next contestant on whose... What? Not a single tribute? Not even a... What? Not a single tribute? Not even a measly little crumb for our next contestant on whose blood is that anyway? Ah, too bad, kid. Guess they want to see you die. Ah, too bad, kid. Guess they want to see you die.
I concentrated on the dead pig and thought inventory. Sure enough, a holographic window opened, revealing everything he'd been carrying. He had a surprising amount of stuff. Some crude musket bullets, strange, given he wasn't carrying a gun. Excuse me. Some crude musket bullets, strange, given he wasn't carrying a gun. A whole bunch of berries, flax thread times 300, hide times 130, twine, rope, a few other survival. A whole bunch of berries, 300 flax thread, 130 hide, twine, rope, and a few other survival basics. He was wearing poorly tanned buckskins and carried a stone spear. I switched out the 300 pounds of sticks and bracken in my inventory into his, took all his stuff, then looked over the railing. The pigs were crowded over the girl. She struggled, still fighting. That was good. She just needed to hang on to her sanity. I tested the strength of the stone before leaping up, and then experimentally reached down and flexed my claws into the mossy wall. They sank into the rotten mortar like pitons. Pitons. They sank into the rotten mortar like pitons, anchoring me. Instinct told me to unfurl my tentacles and use them to assist my descent. The 4 prehensile limbs were strong enough to easily bear my entire weight, so I clambered down the wall like Dr. Octopus, as stealthy while vertical as I was while horizontal. Neither the other monsters or the cowering humans in the cages seemed to notice me, either riveted to the scene on the altar or buried in their own little worlds. Any sound I made was drowned out by the howling of the pigs. The 2 guards were watching the scene ahead, confident that their spotter was still alive and keeping an eye on their backs. They didn't see what hit them. The tentacles lanced forward like harpoons, punching through the backs of their boiled leather armor and out the front of their chests. I hauled them around either side of the cage, whisking them off their feet and dragging them back into the shadows. 2 quick bites, 2 kills.
Stealth Gladiator Kill. Stealth Gladiator Kill. You gained 100 XP. You are level 8. You have 1 ability points. You have 5 new subscribers.
The pair of corpses collapsed as I drew the tentacles out of them. with a wet, sucking sound. These guys carried primitive short bows and macuahuitls. As well as more ammunition, all different kinds, food, stone tools, and lots of other crafting materials and trinkets. Most importantly, they had the keys to the Runtina's cage. Now, the moment of truth. I could do almost everything a human player could do, other than crafting. But could I use keys? There was a high-pitched sound of terror from the altar, a thin, garbling cry that caused images of that rage-soaked kitchen to flash in my mind again. Broken teeth, blood, the angry slash of a woman chopping her left hand into the palm of her right. My heart thumped as I focused on the cage locks. As I did, the stag reared his head as much as the cage allowed for, ears flicking with curiosity. He stared at me with eyes like hot coals, smoldering with barely suppressed anticipation as I pulled the key out of my inventory. Or tried to.
Error. You do not have the ability to use this item.
Uh-oh. Hey!
Hey! Who the hell's brute is that?
It was Rooster, Clive's lieutenant, leaning around the altar to peer across the room at me. My pulse skipped a beat. In desperation, I latched onto the padlock with my teeth and bore all of the primal strength in my jaws down on the crude metal. As a human, the idea of biting through a lock was absurd. As Noodles, the Reaper nemesis, it was
Hey! Who the hell's brute is that?
As Noodles, the Reaper nemesis, it was absurdly easy. The bronze broke apart in my mouth with a resounding crack, startling the onlookers not to rapt. The bronze broke apart in my mouth with a resounding crack, startling the onlookers not too wrapped up in whatever was going on at the altar. Rooster's eyes flew open.
What the? Hey, guys! The fucking murder deer just...
I bounded forward, seized the stag's collar between my teeth and chomped down a second time. The metal sharply heated, then shattered in my mouth. The blast cost me 233 HP and sent me reeling, even as the stag clambered to his feet. He put his head down, glaring at the panicking mass of hell pigs, and pawed the floor of his cage. Don't worry, boys! Focus on Venara! We got this! Clive shouted. Blaze! Get over here, you big toothy bastard! The huge red saber-tooth tore around from the other side of the altar, bellowing as he charged straight at me and Mr. Runtina. The stag's eyes constricted into brilliant points of light. He burst into pure white flames that roared around him like whips, slashing the bronze cages and slagging them into so much liquid metal. The saber-tooth was driven back, but he had fire of his own. As the stag thundered toward the crowd of hell pigs, the big cat's paws became incandescent, boiling with scarlet fire. I flanked and charged into the melee from the side, shrugging off the blow of a machete against my hard skin and trampling a different man down with my claws. The albino woman was where I'd last seen her, chained to the altar, nude and bloody. She was straining her bonds to their limit, trying to shake them as men fought, screamed, and died around her. And on her. Her face contorted in a soundless cry of horror as I slapped the head off the startled razor and sent him tottering back toward the altar. He spun on his feet and fell over the girl's body like a rag doll.
9 of 9! You have made the last sacrifice. The altar has been consecrated. Venara has heard your summons. The Deva will spawn in 10, 9, 8.
The altar flared with a sickly green light and an unholy stench filled the air. I launched over to the mossy altar and grabbed the nearest chain in my jaws. My teeth creaked and cracked as the chains pulled apart like slow taffy, heating as the metal strained, then snapped. The girl beat on my chest with her free fist as I reached over. Her with all 4 tentacles, seized the chain on the other side, and ripped the links apart. As I did, a ring of energy blasted out of the altar, bathing us in swamp green energy. I shrugged it off and gave her ankle cuffs the same treatment. When she was free, she tried to roll over and bolt. Before she could, I seized her in my jaws and ran for the edge of the circle of crackling energy forming around us.
No! Let go! No! Let go!
Okay, almost there. The girl shouted aloud, banging her fist on my snout. She could voice. That was good. There was a deafening bang, the sound of a rifle going off, and a bullet took me in the shoulder. It shaved off a chunk of health and sent sticky blue-black blood gushing. The pain barely registered. My eyes were on the door as I charged my way to the edge of the circle, smashing people away from me left and right. As soon as we broke free of the melee, I started running. A deep roar ripped through the hall of the temple, bouncing off the walls and drowning out the bellows of the monsters still brawling there. But now we were out of that mess. It was none of my business. The hell pigs wanted a boss fight? Well, they got one. Get it! Get that brute! Get it! Get that brute! Get it! Get it! Get that brute! The panicked voice of Clive cut through the racket of the roar. The panicked voice of Clive cut through the racket as the roar faded. Rooster! Rooster! You need to get... Rooster! You need to get that fucking brute! The one with the girl before the fucking boss arena!
Venara the Devourer rises once more. All exits to the arena are sealed. Venara the Devourer rises once more. Venara the Devourer rises once more. All exits to the... Venara the Devourer rises once more. All exits to the arena are sealed.
All right, there we go. End of chapter 5. And that is it for me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Yes, this has been I Am Legion. Oh, you can't see my face when I do this. I'm talking like this. This has been I Am Legion, Cold Reads, Part 3. I'm going to do one more Cold Reads tomorrow, and then that's going to be it for the Cold Reads. But if you've missed a chunk of this and you want to hear this process, again, it's going to be available on YouTube, but also you can listen on our platform, soundbooththeater.com. You can download it there. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're always trying to grow. Also, you guys can check out the Sound Booth Theater other channel. There is another Sound Booth Theater channel. It's not Sound Booth Theater Live, so go check that out. That's where a lot of our, I guess, specialty content is going to be, more visualized content. That's where all our motion comics are going to live, and we're even going to be putting up entire audiobooks there at some point. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys once again. This has been fantastic, as always, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, bye-bye.